Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Belchan.
I'm Nimakung.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you. Chap 19 in Opinion Sec 2 of A Tale of Two Cities, Book the Second Golden Thread.
As.
Ah.
A Tale of Two Cities, Book the Second Golden Thread. Charles Dickens. So, 19 in Opinion Sec 2. Remembrance, that was the first cause of the malady. Some intense associations of a most distressing nature were vividly recalled. I think it is probable that there had long been a dread lurking in his mind, that those associations would be recalled, say, under certain circumstances, say, on no particular occasion. He tried to prepare himself in vain. Would he remember what took place in the relapse? Asked Mr. Orry, with natural hesitation. The doctor looked slightly round the room, shook his head, and then said, in a low voice, "Man, as to the future," hinted Mr. Orry. "As to the future," said the doctor, recovering firmness, "I should have great hope, as it pleased heaven in its mercy to restore him so soon. I should have great hope." Then, yielding under the pressure of a complicated something, undreaded and long vaguely foreseen and contended against, and recovering after the cloud had burst and passed. Well, that's good comfort. I am thankful, said Mr. Orry. I am thankful, repeated the doctor, bending his head with reverence. There are two other points, said Mr. Orry, on which I am anxious to be instructed. You cannot do your friend a better service. The doctor gave him his hand. To the first, then, he is of a studious habit, and unusually energetic. He applies himself with great ardour to the acquisition of professional knowledge, to the conducting of experiments, to many things. Then, I think not. It may be the character of his mind to be always in singular need of occupation. That may be, in part, natural to it, in part, the result of affliction. The less it was occupied with healthy things, the more it would be in danger of turning in the unhealthy direction. He may have observed himself. My dear Manette, my dear Laurie, I doubt if that could easily be. There has been a violent stress in one direction. Excuse me, as a persistent man of business, assuming for a moment that he was overworked. I do not think so. I do not think, said Dr. Manette with the firmness of self-conviction, that anything but the one train of association would renew it. I think that, henceforth, nothing but some extraordinary jarring of that cord could renew it. After what has happened, and after his recovery, I find it difficult to imagine any such violent sounding of that string again. I trust, and I almost believe, overset the delicate organization of the mind, of personal endurance and distress. It was not for his friend to abate that confidence. He professed himself more relieved and encouraged than he really was, and approached his second and last point. He He felt it to be the most difficult of all. But, remembering his old Sunday morning conversation with Miss Pross, and remembering what he had seen in the last 9 days, he knew that he must face it. Mr. Oi. Clearing his throat. We will call blacksmith's work. Blacksmith's work. We will say, to put a case in for the sake of illustration, that he had been used in his bedtime to work at a little forge. We will say that he was unexpectedly found at his forge again. The doctor shaded his forehead with his hand and beat his foot nervously on the ground. He has always kept it by him, said Mr. Borey, with an anxious look at his friend. And still, the doctor, with shaded forehead, beat his foot nervously on the ground. You do not find it easy to advise me, said Mr. Borey. I quite understand it to be a nice question. And yet I think, and there he shook his head and stopped. You see, said Dr. Manette, turning to him after an uneasy pause, it is very hard to explain consistently the innermost workings of this poor man's mind. He once yearned so frightfully for that occupation, and it was so welcome when it came. No doubt it relieved his pain so much, by substituting the perplexity of the fingers for the perplexity of the brain, and by substituting, as he became more practiced, the ingenuity of the hands for the ingenuity of the mental torture of his reach. Even now, when I believe he is more hopeful of himself than he has ever been, and even speaks of himself with a kind of confidence, the idea that he might need that old employment and not find it gives him a sudden sense of terror. He looks like his illustration as he raised his eyes to Mr. Lorry's face. But Maynard, I ask for information. As a plodding man of business who only deals with such material objects as guineas, shillings, and banknotes, may not the retention of the thing involve the retention of the idea? If the thing were gone, my dear Minute, might not the fear go with it? In short, is it not a concession to the misgiving? There was another silence. You see, too, said the doctor, tremulously. I would not keep it, said Mr. Boyer, shaking his head, for he gained in firmness as he saw the doctor disquieted. I would recommend him to sacrifice it. I only want your authority. I am sure it does no good. Come, give me your authority, like a dear good man, for his daughter's sake. Very strange to see what a struggle there was within him. In her name, then, let it be done. I sanction it. But I would not take it away while he was present. Let it be removed when he is not there. Mr. We readily engaged for that, and the conference was ended. They passed the day in the country, and the doctor was quite restored. On the 3 following days he remained perfectly well, and on the 14th day he went away to join Lucy and her husband. The precaution that had been taken to account for his silence. Mr. Laurie had previously explained to him, and he had written to Lucy in accordance with it, and she had no suspicions. On the night of the day on which he left the house, Laurie went into his room with a chopper, chisel, and hammer, attended by Miss Proskering Aloud. There, with closed doors, and in a mysterious and guilty manner, Laurie hacked the shoemaker's bench to pieces, while Miss Pross held the candle as if she were assisting at a murder for which, indeed, in her grimness, she was no unsuitable figure. Without delay, in the kitchen fire, and the tools, shoes, and leather were buried in the garden. So it could do destruction and secrecy appear to honest minds that Mr. Laurie and Miss Pross, while engaged in the commission of their deed and in the removal of its traces, almost felt and almost looked. To be continued.